Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this spring day. We are going to be making some cute bunny jewelry, Easter jewelry, however you want to look at it. We're making pins, we're making necklaces, and it's all made with UV resin. We're going to show you all the tips and tricks on how to work with this material, how to get started with it, and some more advanced techniques. Today is all about bezels. We're going to show you how to use pre-existing bezels and how to make your own bezels in two different materials. So this is an exciting class. My name is Stephanie Menor. I'm here representing Blue Moon Studio, and let's get started. Let's take a look at what we're going to be making today. So first, this is the first project that we're going to do. This is a charm necklace, and we are going to make this little dried flower arrangement, and we're going to hang some charms, and I'll talk a little bit more about these charms here at the top. And then we have these two little bunny pins. So let me show you the back. So they are pins. These are perfect. I would love to put a little one on my apron here. But these we are creating this outline, this bunny shape ourselves. So with this one, we're creating it with wire. And this one, we're creating it with pearls. So there is a template for this class. And I'm not sure if everyone got that yet. Maybe we can put that in the chat. So there's a template for this bunny shape to follow to make it really simple for you. So we'll be doing that a little bit later. So everything that we are using today, you can buy at michaels.com, and it is by Blue Moon Studio. They are the makers of UV ResinCraft. So this is a navy blue package. There's a whole section of these navy blue packages in the jewelry making section at Michaels. And so it has everything you need, including the resin. This is the bottle. This is the 25 milliliter bottle of the resin and the lamp, because when you have UV resin, you need a UV lamp. So that is also sold there, along with all of the tools and things that we're going to need to create, including some glitter. We have some special resin tape that we're going to be using and some other assorted goodies. Here's that wire that I talked about. We're going to be using some pearls and beads and dried flowers. But the resin is the star of the show. So resin typically has two different uses. The most popular uses are either in a mold. We're not doing the mold today. What we are doing is our bezels. This is a bezel. It's just a frame, an open frame. There are closed back bezels too, but open frame bezels work so beautifully with the UV resin because it's clear, so you can see through it. So anytime you're using a bezel, you need to have this product with it. This is polyester tape, resin tape. This is a new one that I'm trying to find the end to. There it is. You cut that little green strip off. And you just want to cut a small piece about the size of your bezel, and then you want to stick it down. You really want to make sure that that bezel makes contact with the tape. I'm going to fold this over to give myself a little finger hold if I need it. Okay, so that is really stuck down there. This thing that you're looking at, this blue thing, is, let me flip up the corner. This is a silicone mat. So this protects my work surface. Let me zoom you guys in a little bit so you can get a good view of what's going on here. The other silicone thing that we're going to use is a silicone bowl. Mine has little bits of glitter on it, and I'm going to show you a little trick here. The best way to get that glitter off, it's so hard. Anyone who uses glitter knows that it just gets everywhere. It's just a piece of Scotch tape. You can kind of clean that up like you're picking up lint is the best way to clean that out. So mine isn't perfectly clean. I've got a few little bits of glitter, but such is the way for crafters, right? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do with the resin, I'm going to pour it directly out of the bottle and into this silicone cup. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to mix some glitter in there. right, I'll probably add more later. I'll mix up more of this glitter color, but that's good for now. I also keep a paper towel off here to the side. And here is my glitter. So this is like a white AB glitter. Any glitter will work. Glitter flakes, fine glitter, coarse glitter. And I'm putting a bit in there. You can put as much as you want. This white glitter, it doesn't get completely opaque. See, it still remains kind of translucent. Translucency, is that a word? Is important in the world of UV resin because this stuff cures in UV light. The light has to reach all the nooks and crannies of what you're doing. All right, I'm going to put just a very thin layer on, just enough to reach the edges here. I can put a little bit more in. So you can scoop it out with your wood stick, or you can squeeze that silicone bowl. See if you could squeeze it, it kind of like creates a more focused little channel. All right, so I'm just kind of making sure there's no puckering around the edges, anything like that. And that's our first layer. I'm going to move that bowl of resin off to the side and bring in my lamp. So this is a 9-watt UV lamp. I'm going to hit the button. You'll see that light is coming on. And we want to, this is like a pre-curing step. Yes, so there's a question in the chat from Letty. Thank you, Letty. That's a wonderful question. Yes, you can and should do this indoors. And I'll tell you why. Because this is a product that cures in UV light. So if you're doing this maybe on your patio or something and the sun is shining in there, this stuff is going to cure right away, like right away as you're pouring it out of the bottle. And you probably don't want that to happen. So this is more of an indoor craft. So the other side of that token is though that it cures in sunlight, which means you can either put it under a UV light here like we are doing, or you can put it out in the sunlight on a sunny windowsill, something like that. The second question you asked was about masks, gloves, I assume. I'm not wearing a mask, but I do work in a well-ventilated area. I'm also not wearing gloves, but I don't wear gloves when I do dishes and things like that either. I have been working with this product for years and I'm fine, but I don't have sensitive skin. If you do, if you have sensitive skin, if you've had a problem with maybe a chemical reaction or something in the past on your skin, go ahead and put some gloves on. All right, so now this is ready to go. So now we get to design, we get to create on top of this base that we've made. I'm going to start with a little more because I want this to be have a little more opaque back there. So I'm going to put a little dab more of this, and then I'm going to start to create my design with flowers. So just like Letty did, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat. I will try to see them and respond to them if I can. If not, we do have some folks that are going to respond to your questions because we don't want to leave you with any burning questions. We have a small group live with us today, so don't be shy. Jump right in there and ask away. All right, so now we get to bring in some dried foliage and dried flowers. So the flowers are sold where the product is sold. Looks something like this. They come in lots of different ways. This is one of the ways that has the greenery and some flowers in there. This is a little different kind of flower. And I think I'm going to first do the greenery. So I want to get in there with a pair of scissors and cut off some areas. And every piece of greenery, of course, is a little bit different. So let's see how we want to put these. I'm just going to get a little bit of that resin on the stick, use that to pick this up, and place that in the middle. And you know, I don't think I need more greenery. I think that that's good. Let me move these off to the side. These are very delicate. They crumble quite easily, so you want to just be gentle with those. And now let's go in here and you want to look at each flower and then look at what side of the flower. Oops, that stuck to my finger. Look at what side of the flower is the pretty side. Just start adding it in. I want to get a pink one in here. That looks pretty just like that. Karen's asking what kind of scissors you're using. I have these like little fancy scissors and I do not recall where I got these. But you know, you can use any scissors. I think I like it just with these two flowers. I'm not gonna put too much more. Okay, so I have my flowers, I have my greenery in place. Let me wipe my wood stick off. Yeah, they do look like embroidery scissors, huh? I just think they're so cute. So I want to lock this in place. I'm going to do another coat on top of it, but I don't want to do that until I have like locked these in place. They're not going to go anywhere. I think I like that. And while that is going, I'm just going to let that go for a couple minutes. I just want to show you some more bezel pieces that we've done through the years. So this is from a Galaxy class that we did. So same thing, started with a round bezel and just added some glittery. I think this was actually not glitter. This was mica powder, which is like a super fine shimmery material, and added a little pearl and um a little metal star. Really, the possibilities are endless when you are adding things into resin. Anything, almost any material that you can think of works really well with the resin. Here's another piece that we did. Here's an earring. And this one is just the clear resin with some very tiny little flowers. This one at the top has a little piece of polymer clay as like an earring topper. Okay. All right, so that went for a minute. And now I'm just going to do a top coat. I don't want to use the glitter one as my top coat. I want to use just straight clear from the bottle. So I'm going to pour that on there in one stream. I don't want to stop and start the stream too much because that might give me a bubble. Although you can see right here, I see a bubble. Let's just pop it and there it's gone. And now I want to get in there and move that resin around. I want it to come right to the edges. That will give us sort of like a dome effect. And now cure that. So this last one, I'm probably going to cure it for 2 minutes. But just in these first 10, 15 seconds, it'll start to grab. It'll start to, what's happening is a chemical reaction is happening. And also what's happening is I can see if you guys are paying attention, I went a little too ham on that pour. So it's overflowing a little bit, but that's okay. Let's just let it happen. And I'll show you what to do if that happens to you. And let me find some more bezel pieces that we've done. Here's another Galaxy piece that we did in that same Galaxy class. Love that. Here's a really cute one. Here we go. Where is it? Here is one. I'll show you. We did a whole New Year's Eve class and made these little champagne bottles and champagne flutes. And this was a really fun class. This is a kind of a preview of the project that we're going to do coming up here in a minute, where instead of buying a pre-made bezel, we're creating a bezel out of something. In this case, it was out of rhinestone chain. So that's another fun bezel piece. All right, so that's going for its second minute under there. Here's another bezel piece. This is more greenery, different kind of flower was used for this one. You can see you could just make kind of like flower arrangements, flat flower arrangements. All right, let's take a look at what we have here. So you can see how I spilled over here. That's okay, we'll show you how to fix that. And you can touch the top and see, like, if it's still sticky, put it under, you know, a couple minutes more. If it's not sticky, that means it's done and you can remove it. You just remove it from the tape. And to fix this, I want to get out some little clippers. And I'm just going to clip around the side. And this resin is still warm, so it's still a little bit pliable. Oops, I didn't realize I had that on a camera. So you can see it just kind of comes off. This little extra bit here, I would go in with an emery board and just kind of knock that down to the metal. Of course, I'm getting dust everywhere, but this is how you fix your mistakes. Just because you've made a mistake doesn't mean the piece is ruined. You can fix it. So I'm being very careful to not file on the metal because we don't want to mess up the plating on the metal, but I can file that down really close. I would keep going on that a little bit longer and just file that right down. Okay, so that is our first piece, and you want to get some chain. So Michael sells the necklace chains, usually in about 18-inch length, this necklace chain. So that already has the lobster and so forth on it. So you just want to string that on there. And then you can have some fun adding some pre-made charms. I want to talk about these charms for a minute because these charms are also made by Blue Moon Studio. And you might not know that if you see them in store because it doesn't have the Blue Moon Studio name anywhere on the package, but this is from Blue Moon Studio. And this charm is so special because it is a butterfly that actually has flappy wings. So cute. And then there are these little globes filled with cute stuff. So you can use this just as one piece in an assemblage. Let me take this. An assemblage of charms. You can also maybe add a tassel on there, creating like a little charm mix. And I'm not going to show you how to put that on the necklace. I think that you guys have got that part, but if you want to see that, do make a comment and I'll try to do that at the end of the class. All right, so first project is done. We've made a pendant. We've put it with some cute little charm friends. And now we're going to get on to a little more of an advanced technique. And this is where that template is going to come into play. Let me zoom you out here. Woo! This is the template. I'm not sure if that was put in the chat. I wasn't able to see, but it's just these bunny head shapes repeated a few times. And okay, it was put in the chat. Okay, good. So you're going to want to download this. And we are going to cover over this template with the tape and then build on top of the tape. So the tape is transparent, so we'll still be able to see. They're pretty, oh, there they are. So I'm going to cut a long piece of tape. You want it long enough to cover, if you're going to be making both projects that we're making in this class, you want it to be long enough to cover two of the shapes. You could go this way or this way. All right, so I have this tape sticky side up. Do not stick it down to the paper. This is sticky side up because we're going to be sticking stuff down on that blue tape. But I want to secure it. So I have some Scotch tape here. So I'm Scotch taping it down to the paper so it doesn't move around. Okay, so we've got sticky side up on the blue, sticky side down on the clear Scotch tape. And I like to do it on all four sides just to make sure you don't have any moving around. Okay, so that's how you sort of prep this. The next thing you do to prep is that you want to get some small beads. So I'm going to show you this one first. This, as you can see, uses pearls as the border instead of the metal border that a bezel would normally have. So you can make this in any shape. You can make it in the shape of a sailboat. You can make it in the shape of a heart, any shape. Today we're doing this bunny shape. It helps to have a template, especially if you are using this to make earrings, for example, where you need both, you need two of the same shape thing. So that's why a template comes in handy. So we're going to be doing the beaded one first. And to do that, you need some beads. So here we have, these are 4mm, these are plastic pearls. You can use plastic, glass, metal beads, really any kind of bead that you think of that's small enough will work for this. But you do want it to be small, 4mm or less. And you want to string those beads onto a string. All right, this is thread. You could also string it onto, I'm going to show you this even though it's like pretty, this is monofilament, like fishing line. You can string it onto that. It actually doesn't matter what you string it on. It doesn't matter the color of what you're going to string it on either, because we are going to just be using that string temporarily. We're going to pull it out later. So that's why thread or fishing line or any of these things will work. All right, so you're going to have a bunch of beads together on a string. And then you are going to set them down onto the bunny, and we're going to first make a circle around his head. Now, I've already done this. Let me pull out what I have here. This one I used monofilament. This is the fishing line. So you want those pearls to stick down to the blue tape. And you also want to eliminate as many gaps in between those as possible. You really don't want them to have any gaps. And at the end, you can kind of pull the ends together. And I'm pressing down on the beads. I'm pulling these ends together just so that there's no gap between the ends. Okay. And then you just want to kind of play with it, make sure you have it exactly in the shape that you want. So there are other ways to do this. I see some people commenting. This trick of putting them on a string first just makes your life easier. Trust me, it's kind of a pain to feed each one onto a string, but then when you set it down, it just becomes a lot easier and they're all in a line. You could add each of these one by one by one, but that's even more of a pain. So this is a little trick that Rosa developed. Rosa Vergara, shout out to her. She's our jewelry designer in California. And she developed this technique of stringing them temporarily on a string. Okay. All right. So once you have those beads exactly where you want them, we're going to go in with some clear resin. A little bit. This resin is going to be used just to kind of shore up. I mean, these are round beads, so they naturally have, I guess, spaces or voids underneath each of these. So this is like to shore up those pieces. So I just put a tiny little bit on there, and then I'm moving it into these beads. Trying to create like, I guess like a dam around on the outside edge. Maybe I want a few more drops on there. Okay, now let's lock that in place with our light. And that is going to secure that ring of beads that we just did. And they will not move. We have a lot of layers we're going to put on top of that, but they will not move. And I'm just going to let this go for about a minute. And then similarly, I'm going to create each ear. And so I have another string over here, string of pearls over here. And each ear, if you follow this template, uses 9 of this size bead. But you know, it depends on your size bead. If you're using seed beads, might be a little different since they're slightly irregular. So just kind of, you'll have to watch. All right, so I'm gonna pull this string out of here. So I'm just snipping off the ends. And you just pull that string right out. All right, let's make some ears here. So I'm gonna get 6, 7. There's 9. Oh, so you want to isolate 9 beads. There we go. And build that ear on. And I'm using the string. You can see I'm using the string to kind of manipulate them. And you can even stick the string down to put them in place. Okay. All right, I like the look of that ear. So same thing. We want to lock those beads in place with a little bit of the resin. And I'm going to move that around. And make sure the beads are exactly where we want them to go. Light on. So it's just working little by little. I mean, this bunny shape is actually quite simple. It's a circle, 2 little U shapes. I'm not even gonna let that go the full minute. All right, and let's isolate another 9 beads. right, here we go. Oops. Maybe I should cut. All right. Hang on. I wasn't fully cooked over here. Let's add a little more resin. I don't think I got it close enough to this side. Let's put that under there again. Okay. I have that tendency in these classes to rush because I don't want there to be a lot of like downtime. So I tend to cut corners and that sometimes bites me like it did just there. So let's take our time, do a little show and tell. Here's another class that we did that was so much fun. We made, ooh, trying to get this in there. We made coasters out of the dried flowers. And that one was really beautiful, really fun. That was just a few weeks ago. See if I can find some other bezel projects to show you. That I'm going to bring in here from the side. This is a silhouette of my son when he was really young. And that is just a black piece of paper that I cut out in a silhouette and then put it in a frame. And I love the simplicity of this piece. I don't show that one often enough. All right, so now that went for a full minute. I'm going to scoot these beads down. And start to work this ear here. This one's wanting to move. See, this is what happens when you don't lock them all in place. That's okay, we can fix it. 3, 4. Here we go. Here's our 9 beads exactly. Okay. All right, so I have some loose beads over here. Move that string because they didn't get touched by some resin. So let's put a little dab and let's put a dab in this ear. Okay, lock it in. Oh, thank you, Jennifer, for finding that class. That is an oldie. That's an oldie but goodie. We've been doing these resin classes for 5 years here with Michael. So we've done so many of these. And that one's going back a few years. But it shows you how many different materials work encased in the resin, from any type of paper, stickers, plastic, photographs, magazine clippings, paint, sand, shell, metal, wood, plastic, acrylic, clay. We've used candy, any type of dried foliage, dried flower, dried leaves, googly eyes, beads. It's there's so many things. It's really up to your own imagination to create with this product. All right, so I think we're pretty solidly.
Hey, Stephanie, do you remember
Mhm.
what class it was you did the coasters in?
Yeah, that was just about a month ago, I think. What was that called?
I came across a class that was romantic dried flowers, but I wasn't for sure.
Yes, yes, that's
That's
it.
it?
Mhm.
All right.
All right, so I'm just trying to pull these string out of here. If the string got caught up in some resin, it's okay. We can just cut it down close. This string, let's see if we can pull it out. Yeah, there it goes. Here's the string. Okay, so now the hard part is over. Now comes the fun part. The fun part is just layering on cool, pretty stuff on top of this. And that's always what I like. In this case, we are going to layer on some more of this glittery resin. And we've already kind of established the dam, right? The border. So this shouldn't flow anywhere we don't want it to flow. A little bit in the ears. Okay. All right, I'm going to do this in layers. Layering is always going to be your friend with UV resin. It just helps you to control what's going on. And you know, if you have any glitter or tint or anything at all in your resin, thin layers cure best. It's thin, it assures that the light is going to hit all parts of it. And let me show you another piece here. We were just talking about stickers. This is a class that we did for autumn, where we just bought some pretty little stickers from the aisle and covered them in resin with a little bit of glitter. And it just, you know, it hardens them up enough. You can put it on an earring finding, and then that's an earring. So cute. All right, I'm going to let that go another minute, and then we're going to keep decorating on top of it. So here is our example bunny. Our example bunny has a little um, flower. The flower is made of seed beads. I have one here. This is made um, with a piece of monofilament. And I don't want to get too much into um, like bead weaving or anything in this class, but these are very simple to make. You just string 6 beads of one color and then kind of go through your first bead and you add the center bead too. But any little flower charm will work there. So we're going to add that. And then in this example here, it also has a little pink nose. Now, so you have options. You can do a pink nose, or you could do, if that nose wasn't there and you put it a little bit further down, then it becomes a little bunny, a little bunny butt, a little bunny tail, cottontail. I was thinking also a white pom pom would be so cute on here too, but I don't have one of those. All right, let's keep adding more layers because we really want to strengthen what's here. Right now, it's still pretty thin sitting on this piece of tape. Eventually, we're going to have to pull it off of that tape. So we want it to have several layers. All right, let's put that down there for another minute. Thank you guys for finding these classes. You are awesome. We have done hundreds of these classes, actually. And they are all on YouTube. Let me show you some other pieces. These are little, let me move this over. These are bracelets with a little hexagon charm in the center. All different ones. So really simple. It's a hexagon bezel. You do need to drill into it. Then you just connect some pieces of chain. Here's another pretty bezel piece. This is an oldie too, but this is another flower arrangement. This one has, I'm kind of see if I put my finger, this one has a little bit of a tint to the resin with a little bit of glitter. That just helps to make those flowers pop. Here's another tinted piece. This one has a light blue tint with a little flower arrangement on it. This one, if I can get it, I'll show you. This one has a darker tint. That one really makes those flowers pop. So it's got a black background. Very, very simple design just with 3 flowers. And to achieve any type of tint, you want to use these little tint additives. So this is sold right next to the resin in store. You just add that in like I'm adding in the glitter, you just add in a drop or 2 of the tint. Okay, so we're getting somewhere here. I think I'm going to switch instead of adding more glitter. I'm going to add my pieces, my little decorative pieces with just clear. So I'm going to add this up here and I'm going to do the little Peter Cottontail here at the bottom. Does that look like a cottontail? Or does that look like his nose is low? I can't tell. It's maybe it needs to be a nose. Yeah, I don't know. We'll put him in the middle though. All right, so I just set those down into the liquid resin and then we lock them in place. My light keeps ticking my tape here. All right, so while that's doing its like final dance over here, I'm gonna scooch this out of the way. And I'm gonna bring in this new sheet. So let's see how I can move this around. Okay, so here we want to use wire. This is the wire that we use when we want to create our own bezel. It is 20 gauge wire at Michael's. So 20 gauge is thicker than like wire that you use for wire wrapping. So it makes a really good custom bezel. And you always want to have a good pair of wire cutters. And I want to find an object that I can wrap around. It's about this size. In fact, a little bit smaller than that size. So if you have like an acrylic roller, that works really well. And we can just wrap around there. That's how you can get a nice circle. So I'm going to that circle. And now I just want to kind of mold it into the shape that we're going for. And I just keep hitting the button over here on my other bunny. So I want to give that a few minutes under the light while I play around with this wire. I'm setting it right on the edge of that pink line. And then trimming the excess. And I think it's going to help to use some tweezers here. To bend it and then make sure that it's set down on that tape. And that little end piece wants to come up. It's okay. I'll show you what to do. So just like when we used our pre-made bezel, we need to put down a thin layer first. Because I have this lifting up, I actually have a silicone tool here that I can use. Silicone will be important for you to use there because if the resin gets on it, it won't stick. So I'm going to use that to kind of hold that down. And move this to the edges. And I'm going to keep holding that down, grab my lamp. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. We had 10 more minutes. I'm not signing off just yet, but I want to take this time to thank you guys for joining us. Every week, every couple weeks when we do these classes, I love to see the familiar names pop up in the chat. You guys have made this so wonderful. This is actually our last class, my last class that I'm teaching. So I want to thank all of you for joining us week in and week out. Thank you for your enthusiasm and your questions. We really appreciate it. I love making jewelry. I love doing this, and I hope that I've encouraged at least a few of you to love it as much as I do. All right, so we have a circle now, and it is filled with resin. We need to make 2 ears. So let's get back to our wire. I'm going to take a piece of wire bigger than the ear that I need. And again, you want to find something to wrap it around that's a little bit thinner than what you need. I have this extremely old paintbrush that I use, and you can see it's been through a war. And that is just the perfect thing to wrap this around because, you know, the paintbrush gets thinner at the end, so I can kind of adjust. And there's a pretty good looking ear. I'm going to set it down and then cut it. Having a good pair of wire cutters is important because a good pair like this you can use up and down and it'll cut it where it's supposed to be. Oh, and then that flew across the room. Giving this a little trim. And setting it down. One more time. Back with my war-torn paintbrush. Push that together a little bit more. Okay. Right. Putting it all together. So you want to make sure that that is settled down onto that blue tape. And now add a little bit of resin. And cure it. While that's curing, we're going to go back to the one we already did with the pearls. Here it is. So at this point, you can see from the side, I'm going to take this blue tape off. This is what we have. And then very gently, you want to remove this tape. If you do not have it thick enough, it might crack on you removing the tape. So you just want to, when in doubt, add another little coat. So cute. All right, and then the final step for this one is we need to add something onto the back to turn it into a pin. So lots of different options here. I could add something that looks like this, like a bar pin, or I could add something that looks like this. This is like a clutch pin. I'm going to add the clutch pin with more UV resin. Just use that as an adhesive on the back. And then I'm going to set him there so they can cook together. All right, we are coming up to time here. I'm going to keep going and go as far as I can with our wire friend here. But if you haven't already, you can follow me on Instagram at Stephanie Menor Creates. That's my name, Stephanie Menor Creates. And sometimes I post about resin. Sometimes I post about any other of my crafting, I don't know, obsessions at the time. And so I would love to stay in contact with you guys if you want to find me there. All right, let's let him stay under the light. All right, so now the hard part is done. The base is done. And we just have to add pretty stuff to the top. The pretty stuff that we're going to add some of these larger flowers. Whenever you're adding flowers, you want to add them on a wet base. Just a little bit of resin. No, I want that one there and this one here. And I also don't want the flowers to be like where the eyes would be, because then it looks like eyes. So let's see. Let's add one more flower in the center. This is the part that is the fun part. You get to use your own design creativity and make this your own. All right. So in addition to the sort of larger flowers, you can also add some little, I call it flower confetti. So these are the other kind of flowers that you can buy. And you can take your scissors and just cut around them. And it makes it turn into all these like individual little blooms. It's really pretty. And then we can place those as well. That kind of fills up that space. And maybe we need a little more resin so these things will actually stick. And just keep designing. And then same thing that we did with the other pieces, we want to make sure that it is thick enough before we try to pull it off of this tape. Because otherwise it is going to break on you. And you don't want that to happen, not when you've done all this work. Okay, so you want to keep going, cure this. I'm going to cure that in place, but I'm going to also keep working it. I'm going to show you, I did all clear with mine, but this is what it would look like if you used more of that glitter behind the flowers. So it's really just up to you what you like. I love the look of the clear resin with flowers. I think it's just so traditional. So it's up to you how you want to design yours. But I'm going to add at least 2 to 3 more layers on top of this. So I am going to be signing off now, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for staying to the end. It has been a pleasure teaching these classes. Now go out and make jewelry. You can do it. Don't be scared. Don't be shy. My name is Stephanie Menor, representing Blue Moon Studio, and love you guys. Go make something.